I'm about to tell you an almost unbelievable story of what has been going on for the past 2.5 years. Today I fled the Republic of Cyprus to the north of Cyprus because huge illegalities are going on and have been going on for the past 2.5 years. When I tried in good faith to transfer guardianship of my daughter to my mother of my own free will and not imposed by the Republic of Cyprus. I did this because I was terrified and because I had been terrified by the persons behind this. I paid ELENI VRAHIMI €2,400 to transfer guardianship of my own free will, as I said, imposed with mutual consent of Pamela's father to my mother, in the event of my death, demise, or whatever, that she would be well looked after with my mother. I can't read Greek, I can understand Greek. The court hearing on the 14th of May, I reviewed all 2010, I reviewed all the documentation presented to me by NITSA, ELENI VRAHIMI's clerk. There were numerous errors. I sat in the corridors and corrected as many as I could before going in front of the judge, Lizaridis, on the 14th of May 2010. And I initialed each and every page as required by law. I initialed every error there was, and everything appeared to go as we had discussed, that guardianship would be transferred. Nothing appeared to be amiss. Everything I assumed was in order, and my mother, although doesn't speak Greek, NITSA translated to her throughout the entire process. I was so frightened that I fled the country the next day. That evening my daughter collapsed in my arms. I haven't worked since before she was born. She was accustomed to me always being around, from collecting her from school, from creating a pleasant, comfortable home environment. When I got to England, I told the police what had happened. I needed somewhere to stay. I didn't have anywhere to stay. They directed me to Harlow Hospital. I didn't know it at the time, but there were no beds available and I had to stay on the psychiatric ward. During that time I received a very favourable attestation from a Dr. SARKHEL and his staff at Harlow Hospital on the 26th of May. It said that during the course of my stay, that Katrina Webb, date of birth the 27th of May 1959 in London, was not suffering from any acute or severe mental illnesses, and during the course of that stay that no pharmaceuticals were administered. I was delighted. The following day I sent a cover letter and included that note to the Prime Minister, Mr. Cameron, congratulating him on his appointment as PM, and also to try and gain his assistance, in sorting this frightful situation out. During my time in the United Kingdom, I actually tried to identify a human rights lawyer. In fact, I tried on 23 occasions and failed. Finally, I instigated a hearing myself and paid £40 to go before a judge to have my case heard. It was very visible that I was being treated as though I was an imbecile, and I didn't understand why. Also, I now understand that this documentation, or the substituted documentation, was so horrific that this is why I didn't receive any assistance at all from international organisations such as the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights in Geneva when I applied for political asylum in Switzerland. I didn't get any assistance from the European Parliament, petition number 1450/10, dated the 3rd of December 2010. It was rejected 6 months later, even though I had the assurances of Mr. Lowe at the Secretariat that this would receive priority. And when I questioned whether nations might interfere to block this, he assured me that there is a way of doing this and it wouldn't happen. It was blocked. In order to get to Brussels, I left the United Kingdom, but prior to that, and during the time I was trying to identify a human rights lawyer in the United Kingdom, which on each and every occasion was blocked. Even an appointment at the High Court with the Citizens Advice Bureau was cancelled when I got there. It was very clear that I was failing and not getting anywhere. But then I received a second letter of invitation from Dr. SARKHEL to see him on the 21st of September at his offices in Loughton and not at Harlow Hospital. I smelt a rat. I shouldn't have gone. I didn't need actually to go because I had that good piece of paper, but I did. But prior to that, I booked a flight to Greece to meet my daughter for Christmas. To meet my daughter for Christmas. To go to Greece. Anyway, the situation in Greece became much worse. I should have realised that my husband, who's never particularly helped us, gave me a key and said stay there. I should have been suspicious from the beginning. He'd made friends, or rather, let's put it this way, George Hajibavlo, a road contractor, an aerodynamics engineer and bufferman for the Papadopoulos family, Anastasıa Papadopuloswho, the minister, and also Yorgagis, the older brother for the children of Fodini Papadopoulos, had acquired the services of George Hajibavlo to befriend and play my husband, who was an alcoholic. They paid his rent, they gave him money, they paid his tickets to Greece, they entertained my daughter, they entertained him breakfast, lunch and dinner. They bought him lock, stock and barrel, and he sucked it up. His character is weak. He was very hateful towards me because I finally, in no uncertain terms, asked him to leave the house for very valid reasons. Finally, I couldn't take it much more in Greece. The situation was being quite chronic. People were saying, or they were trying to say that, I smoke, that when I go onto the balcony to smoke, I was shouting obscenities to people walking by. This was not the case. This was to try and prove mental illness. But I've jumped a bit, sorry. After 4 months, SARKHEL got in touch and said that I should attend a meeting on the 21st of September, which I did. The meeting was alone. There was no supporting team in Loughton, and he diagnosed psychosis, even though I could prove the otherwise, even the opposite, even though I could produce receipts saying that I had paid ELENI VRAHIMI to do this service for me, who then deviated completely on a course of her own and had my daughter removed. That 2,000 was being held guarantee for costs incurred by the court for my daughter Pamela Trenga. This was not the case. If anybody knew ELENI VRAHIMI, this would undoubtedly prove that she had then gone without payment, which would for her be totally unacceptable in every shape and form. I fled the country and I went to Greece. As I said, it got progressively worse, to the point that my house was bugged. I was followed in a village. It was ridiculous. If I went to Saloniki, where I escaped for a couple of days, now and again, I literally escaped when court orders were prepared and almost signed by the president in Kyrgyz, which would have then been forwarded to the police in Rumenisa, Kyrgyz, Greece. I would have been then sent for psychoanalysis, which would have been bribed, corrupted, and I could have been detained. So I fled on the bottom of a car with the aid of somebody in Greece through the Balkans. I changed cars 3 times to get through the Balkans, and finally a flight from Zagreb to Brussels, where I immediately went to NATO HQ, explained the situation, and it was suggested to me that I then have myself re-hospitalized to invalidate Sarkhel's illegal diagnosis of the 21st of September. These documents have caused a burden in my life. The fabricated documentation was substituted. I received no help. While I was in Brussels, I prepared documentation regarding what had occurred in Greece, in Cyprus, for a petition 1450/10 dated the 3rd of December 2010. I spoke to Mr. Lowe of the Secretariat, who said that this would be expedited because of the urgency of the case. It wasn't. I gave the addressee as NATO HQ because I had become a person of no fixed abode again. That was the second time in England and also in Belgium. But what had occurred is because of George Hadjipaoğlu and my ex-husband, they acquired for financial gain the services of my half-sister Maria Iorghiu, her husband Constantinos Iorghiu, and possibly Valentina Nicolau, who works for the British government and looks after children. I believe that these people have testified to the effect there had been some form of abuse toward my own daughter. This is not the case. I have only just realised after 2.5 years, because my mind could not possibly seek to such depths, revolting, disgusting depths, that this has been the case. Where else did I go? I went to Germany. I applied. I had to escape through the Balkans again, and decided to go to Switzerland and apply for political asylum. Nobody, unless they're completely desperate and Northern European, would ever consider, doing that. It is quite awful. They do the best they can.